Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you join us today for the Sharsheret in the Kitchen Ask Beller Nutrition Answers to Your Burning Nutrition Questions with Rachel Beller. I'm Jessica Jablon, California Program Coordinator at Sharsheret. For those of you who don't know about Sharsheret, we help women and families facing breast and ovarian cancer, as well as those who are at elevated genetic risk, through free, confidential, and personalized support and resources. In addition to our virtual services that can be found on our website or by emailing us, you can also access prior webinars on a range of cancer-related topics, as well as access our calendar of upcoming virtual programs through our website. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted on Sharsheret's website along with a transcript. Participants' faces and names will not be in the recording as long as you remain muted. If you would like to remain private, you can turn off your video and rename yourself, or you can call into the webinar, and instructions are in the chat box now for both options. You may have noticed that all participants were muted upon entry. Please keep yourself muted throughout the call. If you have questions for Rachel, put them in the chat box, either publicly or click on Sharsheret in the chat box to submit a private question, and we will ask them towards the end of the program. We also received a lot of questions in advance, and we'll do our best to get as many answered as we can. We'll be sending out a follow-up email from today's webinar with the recording in the next week or so. So as we move into the webinar itself, I want to remind you that Sharsheret is a national not-for-profit cancer support and education organization and does not provide any medical advice or perform any medical procedures. The information provided by Sharsheret is not a substitute for medical advice or treatment for specific medical conditions. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem. If you have any questions that are specific to your medical care, Rachel may not be able to advise regarding specifics and would advise that you speak to your medical provider. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. We're very excited to be continuing our Sharsheret in the Kitchen series. This is an initiative in partnership with Cedars-Sinai here in Los Angeles, which empowers those of us at risk for breast and ovarian cancer to make healthier diet choices. This webinar is a little bit different than our typical Sharsheret in the Kitchen programs because it isn't a cooking demonstration, but rather an opportunity for us to learn from Rachel Beller, an incredible registered dietitian nutritionist. Prior Sharsheret in the Kitchen webinars can be accessed on our website at the link in the chat. We want to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors, Cedars-Sinai and the Cooperative Agreement DP-19, whose support allows us to offer important programming like today's webinar. Now, I want to take a minute just to share a little bit about our Sharsheret in the Kitchen nutrition coaching program, which is in its 5th cohort. The goal of this limited time program for Los Angeles County residents, although there are some spots available to non-Los Angeles residents, is to provide people impacted by breast and ovarian cancer with more tools to make healthy diet choices. Eligible participants can sign up for one of these 2 exciting opportunities. They can join cancer nutrition expert, today's guest, Rachel Beller, founder of the Beller Nutritional Institute, in her next exclusive 8-week transformation masterclass, which starts on January 14th. This program delivers the evidence-based Beller method and has been featured on Good Morning America. It's 100% online with live Zoom meetings, simple how-to videos, one-on-one phone and check-ins, group social feed, and access to a secure portal with direct messaging with Rachel and her team. And it's tailored specifically for ovarian, breast health, and weight management. The second option is applying to have 3 one-on-one nutrition coaching sessions with Tamar Rothenberg of Nutrition Nom Nom, author of Cancer Diet for the Newly Diagnosed, an integrative guide and cookbook for treatment and recovery, where participants will have 3 one-on-one personalized nutrition coaching sessions over Zoom, tailored to their nutrition needs and goals. I do want to mention that space is limited and on a rolling basis for this program. Currently, we are accepting applications for our wait list. If you're interested in finding out more, the link is in the chat. Please complete the short application and we will contact you once the program reopens. Additionally, please note that the Sharsheret Nutrition Coaching Program is a one-time only program. So if you have taken Rachel's class, you're not eligible for tomorrow's sessions and vice versa. We are so proud to be able to offer this program because we know that people who are facing breast and ovarian cancer have a lot of questions about nutrition that this program can help answer. And we've gotten such great feedback about this program. And now I want to introduce you to Jennifer, who's going to share her personal story with us.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story and a little bit about my experience participating in Rachel's most recent masterclass. I'm a very chatty person, but I am going to attempt to keep it brief so we can get to all of Rachel's really important information. So almost 10 years ago, I was in the shower getting ready for a big date when my hand just happened to graze against the side of my breast. And I felt this huge, hard lump that I somehow had never noticed before. In that moment, I knew exactly what it was, but I never expected to find it at 32 years old. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and now, almost a decade later, after numerous surgeries and treatments, I'm still doing okay. And my mom and 2 of my aunts are also doing okay. They've all also gone through breast cancer as well. One of the ways I give back since my diagnosis is through educating women about early detection and risk reduction. I have probably spoken to thousands of women about how to be empowered and proactive with their breast and ovarian health. But I always felt a little hypocritical because I knew I wasn't really practicing what I preached when it came to reducing my risk through nutrition. And it wasn't for lack of trying. I went through these phases where I'd attempt to eat healthy, but I didn't really understand what that necessarily meant. There are just so many different diets and different sources saying different things about what and how you should eat or shouldn't eat. And it can be really confusing. I would just get overwhelmed and pretty quickly give up. When I heard about this opportunity to take the masterclass with Rachel, I jumped on it, figuring, I'll probably learn some useful tips, but I did not expect it to be so incredibly helpful and honestly life-changing. I really appreciated her step-by-step approach, which really eases you into each phase of diet change, so you can develop these strong habits and really integrate them into your life before moving on to the next step. Before, I sort of understood maybe what healthy ingredients were, and I knew some healthy meals, but Rachel really teaches you how to construct a meal, what the components should be, and how much of each thing you should be eating daily. She does provide a plethora of wonderful recipes, but I would say even more importantly, now I have the confidence and the knowledge that I can open up my fridge and create a complete breast healthy meal, even without any of those. I feel really armed now with tools to move forward and make real sustainable changes. It's the furthest thing from a fad diet. It's not something you do for like a month or two just to lose a few pounds. It's really learning how to eat based on proven research and truly understanding nutrition for a lifetime. I think it's really exciting and truly satisfying to be able to be proactive in this way. I think once you're through active treatment, many survivors, including myself, we really struggle with kind of being set adrift. And it seems like there's really nothing anymore you can do to help prevent a recurrence. But this gives you a way, and it feels so good to take action and take control in this area of my life. And I'm really so grateful that I was able to do it. So if any of you have the opportunity, I would really recommend taking the course with Rachel because it changed the way I look at food.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Jennifer, yeah, that was, for sharing your story with us and also for talking about, the Rachel's program. I think so many of us feel like lost when we look at diets and what's out there. And it's so nice to be able to have such a great resource like Rachel, to learn from. And last year we had Rachel on a Shared in the Kitchen program, and there were so many questions about healthy eating that we knew we had to bring her back for another webinar focused on answering your nutrition questions. And so I'm so excited to introduce Rachel Beller. Rachel is a registered dietitian nutritionist and creator of the Beller Method and the Beller Nutrition Community Outreach Program. She specializes in weight management and cancer risk reduction and is a 3-time best-selling author and spokesperson for the American Cancer Society. She sits on several medical advisory boards, including Share It and the Cancer Support Community and JK Living. Rachel conducted research on the role of nutrition in breast cancer risk reduction at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and the John Wayne Cancer Institute at Providence St. John's Health Center for over a decade. She's worked with Matthew and Camilla McConaughey, Laura Dern, and Sheryl Crow, and is the go-to nutritionist for Good Morning America, The Today Show, and so many others. Her mission is to provide a high level of nutritional support at an affordable price through her 8-week transformation masterclass, which welcomes members from all over the globe. And the next masterclass, like we said, starts on January 14th, and you can also find information at bellernutrition.com. Please stay tuned to the end of the webinar as we're excited to give away a gift set of some of Rachel Beller's nutrition spices, generously donated by Rachel, to one lucky person who fills out today's evaluation. So Rachel, welcome to ShareShared and welcome back to ShareShared, and thank you so much for being here today.
It is always a pleasure to be here and to support and engage in more community outreach. So we got a lot of questions, and I prepared some of them for you guys. Let's see here. Can you see my, I think you're seeing my Zoom.
It just says that mine just says that you've started screen sharing.
Okay, I apologize for that. I can just, let me see here. Can you see it now? I put a different one.
It looks like the same thing. But
we'll
now
do it again.
Maybe if you go back to share screen.
Yeah, I'm on share screen now. Do you see it?
Says, oh yes, now we see it.
Okay. So great. There we go. You seeing it now, right?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, we got a lot of questions, and we decided to pick just a few and review them with you guys. And some of them were so common. I get these questions all the time. I figured I would present them in this format for you guys, hoping that it will be extremely helpful. So here's one that we get every time. So we just had to include it, which is to soy or not to soy, if soy products are okay when it comes to breast cancer risk reduction for anyone, for any thrivers. It's a recurring question that I thought I would address today in a little bit more detail. So lots of research, lots of data supporting that whole soy is protective for us. Leading health organizations such as the American Institute for Cancer Research, the American Cancer Society, lots of evidence supporting the fact that soy is protective and very much so recommended for both estrogen receptor positive and estrogen receptor negative individuals, and that it has anti-estrogenic properties and cancer fighting properties as well. So let me review some of the more the details within. So the effects of phytoestrogens, which are plant-based hormones that come from various foods like soy, flax, sesame seeds, beans, legumes, berries. Lots of foods contain these plant hormones known as phytoestrogens. One thing I do want to mention is that they're not the same as human or animal estrogens, nor do they act like them. They actually have these anti-estrogenic effects and can be protective. So when it comes to our cell receptors, there's a beta receptor and an alpha receptor. The beta receptor tells our cells not to multiply and divide. So they have this, what we call an anti-proliferation effect. And you see here's a phytoestrogen, a plant estrogen. This is a regular estrogen here. And the plant estrogen, as I mentioned, has a tendency to bind to the beta receptor, telling cells not to multiply and divide. The normal circulating, the animal or normal natural circulating estrogen that our body has an affinity to bind to the alpha receptor, where it tells cells to multiply and divide. So when the plant-based estrogen, known as a phytoestrogen, binds to that beta receptor where it tends to go to, it's 1,600 times more likely to bind to the beta than the alpha. What it does is it sends a signal over to the alpha receptor saying, hey, I'm here, so please go away. I've blocked you. And that is extremely protective because, again, this one's saying, hey, don't multiply and divide. This one is saying to divide and multiply, which is something that we don't want. So it is a blocker, and that is very protective. So it's like having more guards at the door to protect you. And when it comes to soy, there are so many other benefits as well. It is very rich in antioxidants, lots of minerals, fiber, like edamame is soy, has lots of fiber, a lot of cancer fighting compounds as well. So there are lots of benefits, and we do encourage individuals with or without a history of breast cancer, and young girls are actually maturing when they're developing breast tissue. It's been found to be very protective. As I mentioned earlier, I do recommend going the whole way with soy, whole, preferably sprouted. Sprouting actually enhances nutrient absorption, so that's great, and it's very easily found at most health food stores, Trader Joe's, so many stores, and it's not, the price difference between organic and not is so minimal, and it's worthwhile just picking up any of these versions. And tempeh is a fermented soy, so it's got the benefit of also being rich in probiotics, which supports our gut health. You can enjoy roasted organic edamame as a plant-based protein. There are so many different options available. One thing I would stress is to avoid highly processed soy. Soy products that have these soy isolates and concentrates. It became very popular to extract certain compounds with isoflavones within soy and to add them to different frozen processed products because it would really enhance the protein content. But we don't want to do that. You, just like anything else, you want to really focus on the whole food because there are different components to food. And what we're seeing in the research is that there's a synergistic effect between the different compounds within, different nutrients within whole foods that work together to yield a benefit, to yield a return for your health. And once we start extracting and concentrating, it becomes something somewhat of an unknown. And we see that a lot with supplements and other foods. I could talk about that for a long time. But, and as I was saying, other foods that are rich in these protective phytoestrogens, beans, legumes like lentils, sesame seeds, sweet potatoes, apples, pomegranates, berries. There are lots of foods for you to enjoy and benefit from these protective plant-based estrogens. And by the way, also, I get this question a lot, estrogen receptor negative breast cancer thrivers, should they be including soy in their diets as well? And there has been some literature suggesting that they do stand to benefit from it. And also the fact that it's rich in phytoestrogens, anti-cancer properties like with saponins, protease inhibitors. We've got fiber. There are so many benefits to soy that go well beyond that. Another common question has to do with modulating your hormones, how to get rid of excess hormones, other potential carcinogens. And I get asked this question so often that I would share something that I think is so simple. And it's something that most of you are probably already working on in your diet, which is fiber. Fiber is such a simple way to help your body modulate your hormones and also help get rid of excess hormones, which is important when it comes to cancer risk reduction. So I'm really into this. And for anyone who's taken one of my classes, I really, really encourage not only knowing to focus on a target number, but also to confirm that you're actually taking that action and starting to phase it in, because you do need a phased approach with fiber. For most of my patients, I recommend targeting around 30, 35 grams a day, gradually introducing it. And when you think about fiber, I want you to think of like a cleaning crew coming into your body, doing a really good job scrubbing and cleaning. Like I like to describe it as like if you have a 5,000 square foot home and one person comes to clean, I want you to imagine a crew of 5 showing up daily. One person can do it, it's great, but 5 will probably get it a lot cleaner. And in saying that, I want to stress the fact that our body has an existing natural way of cleaning. We have that built in place. We all talk about some fancy detoxes and different products out there. We don't need anything fancy. Our body has this system in place, but fiber helps us do a much more efficient job in detoxifying and cleaning our system as well. And in doing so, it also helps modulate our hormones. So when it comes to fiber, we have different types of fibers. There's insoluble fibers, there's soluble fibers, and then within the soluble fiber category, there are these special prebiotic fibers. And also within that, there's also fibers known as beta-glucans, which have a great impact on our immune system. They come in foods like mushrooms and different seaweeds like nori that have these special marine prebiotic fibers, oats, which is why a lot of the breakfasts that I have encourage a lot of oats that are sprouted. So really, really good stuff. But you want to diversify. We're thinking about getting a target number of fiber, 30 to 35, but then you want to take it a step further and diversify the different types of fibers that you're ingesting. So when it comes to reducing excess estrogen, I'm going to show you how that works. So when you get enough fiber in your diet, and again, I'm targeting that number for a reason. Research shows us that there is a difference between ingesting 20 grams a day versus 30, 35. When you get enough fiber, more estrogen gets excreted out of the body. You see here, we've got insoluble fiber acting like a brush, soluble fiber like a sponge. They work together to escort these extra estrogens out of the body via the stool and increase the stool weight of estrogen. When you don't get enough fiber in your diet, the excess estrogen just basically goes back into the blood system. So really, really important. And again, it's simple. It's something that is definitely doable. The prebiotic fibers nourish your gut. So again, these special prebiotic fibers, foods like asparagus, mushrooms, and so forth, they're the only, the prebiotic fibers are unique and because they have direct access to your gut microbiome. And when you're nourishing that gut microbiome, it creates short-chain fatty acids, which support our immune system. It also helps with weight management, reduces inflammation, and reduces cancer risk. When you don't get enough fiber, the opposite effects. So you've got something called dysbiosis, which is an abnormal bacterial balance in the gut, which affects your hormonal balance. So again, we are looking at preventing recycling these excess estrogens. The immune function, I just threw this in there because I thought it was so interesting how we don't generally think about fiber supporting our immune function, but it does. And it's fascinating how these foods can nourish our gut bacteria and also engage with immune cells in the GI tract to stimulate a stronger immune defense. So again, we're looking at simple foods, and I've got a list of them here, like different mushrooms, a variety of mushrooms, fresh, dried mushrooms, mushroom powder that you can include into your routine, whether it be in your oatmeal or in your morning beverage. Really simple things to integrate that could have a great impact for your health, for thrivership, and I thought that was going to be great to share with you guys as well. This is the last one, then we'll turn it over to other questions. Does sugar feed cancer? I get this question all the time. So I'm going to start off by saying that every cell in our body needs sugar to survive and thrive. It's essential. And if you don't get enough sugar from carbohydrates or from different foods, then your body starts to go to proteins and other places to get sugar to survive. There's no bypassing that. So that's something I want to stress, because some patients come to me and they say, Rachel, I'm not going to eat an apple. I'm not going to eat berries anymore. I'm not going to eat anything that has sugar in it. And you can't bypass it. The best advice I can give you is to understand how to integrate sugar and carbohydrates and the right types of carbohydrates so that your body supports blood sugar modulation. That is important. So I'm going to show you a few examples of that. Like, for example, how you shop for bread can make a difference. I love showing this example where you've got a slice of bread here that's 100% flourless. It's basically like lentils and different sprouted whole intact grains that I describe it as like they're glued together, basically. If you're going to squish them into a ball, it would resist squishing. And what happens here is that it's flourless. So, and it has these intact grains. What that means is that your body, once you ingest it, your body has to work harder to break through the barriers of those intact grains to break it down. And that means steadier blood sugar. And it also means your body's going through an internal workout to break it down as well. This slice right here can have 21 grains, 1,000 grains. It doesn't make a difference. Once it's pulverized, it's made into a flour, your body will break it down very quickly. So comparing these two, I mean, they're both bread, and it's like I like to describe it as like, or comparing it to taking the elevator or the stairs to get to the 10th floor. Both are going to get you there, but one is actually going to yield a return for your health. And where the other one is more like something I'm not going to say you should never eat, because I don't like to do that. But I think it's more like a fun, extra delicious food maybe, or something like that to enjoy occasionally. So again, it's how you introduce and what types of foods that you introduce into your body. Here's an example of just like a very seasonal breakfast that you can enjoy, or some kind of a snack or meal. You've got a sweet potato. Yes, it has carbohydrates in it. Yes, it has natural existing sugars in it. But it also has a lot of fiber in it, which is like installing a set of brakes in a car to slow things down. We've also added a nut butter here that supports your blood sugar modulation. It also has protein, essential fats, fiber. So again, further helping to support your blood sugars and how your body will respond to it. And then I've added some chia seeds in there. And then we've got another, it's a fiber booster, fiber, other nutrients, healthy fats that are going to support you. So when you're combining these foods together, it all makes sense. That's how I want you to think about these things, as opposed to just fearing carbohydrates and fearing some of these foods that one might say, like, I don't eat sweet potatoes because it has too much sugar. This hopefully will help you put that together and sort through that. This is a very popular recipe in the master class. It's my fiberized breakfast cookies. Very simple. You're taking sprouted oats, bananas, a fiber booster, some spice, you can add some protein powder. All these things together support blood sugar modulation, but they also are a fast track to getting you closer to that goal of 30-35 grams of fiber per day. 2 would give you about 10 grams of fiber. That's a lot. By the way, to get to 30-35, you'd have to eat almost a bathtub full of produce. So we need solutions like this to help us get there and to ensure and give us some clarity and confidence that we're getting there. Nuts and fruit, another great synergistic effect. this is again the sprouted flourless bread. You could put some hummus on there. You could put some chia seeds. You could put avocado with a fiber booster, maybe basil seeds, maybe sprouted ground flax that you could stir in there. Again, great synergy between the ingredients. So I just wanted to give you some examples of some how I put these answers into action with specificity. So now I'd like to open it up to other questions. And I want to invite you guys to our masterclass that starts this weekend on January 14th. You don't need to be there on January 14th, by the way. That's just the date that the first set of materials get released. I know it's the Sabbath. You do not need to be there to attend anything that day.
Thanks, Rachel. There's so many times that we get asked about soy, fiber, sugar. So I feel like you really, broke that down for us to understand better. And a bunch of questions came in about that in the chat. So I'm just gonna go through the chat a little bit.
Yeah.
Someone asked, what about soy for people on Synthroid?
So you'd probably want to check with your physician specifically for you, but you probably want to keep it on the low ends, but depends. I'd have to know a little bit more.
How often do you recommend eating tofu?
So tofu would fall into the category of a plant-based protein. And plant-based proteins are highly encouraged for cancer risk reduction. So that would be one of the proteins that you would rotate. So there isn't a recommendation specifically for you to eat it twice a day, 3 days a week. But I would say having one serving a day would be perfectly fine. Just like anything else. Like if we were talking about broccoli, I would say broccoli is great. It has great cancer fighting properties, but I wouldn't necessarily dose it at 2 cups a day, every single day, 7 days a week. I would think of whole soy as something that falls into that rotation of your proteins, but I would highly seek it out, definitely. And I would recommend that over an animal-based protein by far.
Someone was asking about soy milks, whether, I guess whether or not you recommend them or the other different plant-based milks.
Sure. Yeah, great question. So soy milk is great, just like other plant-based milks. Shopping for them is a different question, but I'll address both together because I think it's important. So when you're looking at plant-based milks, my rule of thumb is less is more. I always tell my patients, my masterclass participants, look for either the nut like cashew or hazelnut or soy, water, and maybe a touch of sea salt. That's it. Some patients who are watching their waistline will say, well, Rachel, I noticed that has 120 calories per cup. This one has 30. So shouldn't I just go for the 30? And I tell them, no, go less is more. Less is more. You really want to think about it this way. When you have a plant-based milk that has 30 calories or, it's the same thing like cashew or soy, basically they're selling you more water. They're taking more water, less of the nut, and then to make it look decent or somewhat presentable, they add all kinds of gums and binders to form it a little bit more. And those binders and gums don't harm you per se. There isn't research saying, oh, that's really harmful, don't drink that. But it has been shown to potentially cause GI distress, a little discomfort in certain individuals. And I think it's unnecessary. So if you want to lower your caloric intake when it comes to a plant-based milk in your smoothie or whatever, add your own water at home and you have it right there. You can reduce it yourself and bypass all the additives and preservatives and things like that. But soy is great. It has more protein than other plant-based milks. So some people enjoy that.
Sort of along the lines of what you're talking about, are there any certain brands you recommend Somebody said that they started going down the soy-based route, but she's confused about the degree of soy being processed. It seems processed beyond the bean itself.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's Eden soy is good. You can try that one. It's very popular. Just again, you want to look at it. You want to look at the ingredient list and see that it's just the nut or the soy and water, maybe a touch of sea salt, nothing else. And we include several examples on our visual shopping documents as well. So there's tons of options within the scope of different types of plant milks, different plant yogurts, fiber boosters, and things like that. But Eden soy is great, and there's quite a few on the market. Last I checked, Pacific was also had nothing added.
Is there a difference between white and black chia seeds in relation to estrogen?
I haven't seen anything in relation to estrogen on those. It's not as, I mean, chia seeds compared to, let's say, flax. I'd say flax has a lot more lignans than chia. The difference between black and white, I did have a few meetings with some growers when it comes to chia. And the white ones I prefer them a little bit more. What I was taught when I was studying all this, they showed me different seeds. And with the white seeds, you can see the uniformity of the seeds compared to the black, where you can't see the differences so much, meaning that they came from one crop most likely and not just a million different crops around the world. There's different qualities. So there's more of a nutritional consistency when you have it coming from one crop. So I know it's a long answer to that, but there isn't any big difference between the two. But I like to kind of look at it and see that, yes, it came from one place like that for consistency. And there's certain brands that I prefer more than others, but yeah.
Someone is asked, what is a seed spread? What do you mean by that?
Sure. So a seed spread would be like sunflower seed spread. There's nut spreads like almond butter and cashew butter. And then there are also some spreads that come from seeds.
Okay, we have a lot of questions that have come in the chat, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time left. So I just want to get to a couple of more, and then we will do our best to get the rest of the questions answered, and hopefully we can get that information out to you all. One of the questions that came in was, what are the top foods to lower estrogen levels after fiber, of course?
So it's a loaded question, but I think that fiber is definitely something that you don't want to look at as just fiber. Again, you want to look at diversifying, because you have to tend to that gut microbiome, which also helps with hormonal balance. So it's not going to come from one source. Plant-based proteins would be a great way to also help modulate our hormones, being not only because they're rich in fiber, but also there are so many other benefits that have to do with hormonal balance when it comes to plant-based proteins. So without opening up the discussion too much, animal-based proteins have natural occurring hormones in them. So that's something that's being looked at, how much of an impact that has on your estrogenic load in the body. I don't want to say that it definitely does that, but that is something to think about. It's something that sometimes I see in discussions professionally, how patients will question eating, let's say, soy, but they'll eat chicken freely, where one has natural occurring hormones, whereas the other is a plant-based that is shown to be protective. So there are different factors like that could affect us. Insulin growth factor 1 is another one, showing that ingesting different sources of protein, whether animal-based or plant-based, has a different effect on our estrogenic load as well, even though you're eating the same amount of protein. So it's a big loaded one, but I'm giving you a little bit. So it has to do with putting a plan in place a nutrition plan in place that will really support hormonal balance.
So I'm going to ask the last question. It's actually two questions. Is this masterclass for men too, and is soy okay for men?
So it would be similar as far as men, women, when it comes to its protective effects. We've had not as many, but we've had men. We always have like one or two in the masterclass, and it's great. It's great. It's a method that basically it is tailored for cancer risk reduction and weight management. We have some individuals that don't desire weight loss, and they're learning a method, a lifestyle that they can sustain when it comes to cancer risk reduction. So yes, we've had men, and it's great. I really love empowering and educating throughout the process. I think the bi-weekly Zoom educational meetings that we have, I gave you like a little taste today from some of the things that we talk about, but yeah, it's a passion project of mine, and we welcome everyone.
Thank you so much, Rachel. This has been so informative, and clearly we need to do it again because there are just so many questions that keep coming up. I'm gonna just put myself up here, and I guess let's see. You know, I know I learned a lot from this. I hope that you did too. We recommend you follow Rachel on social media and check out her cookbooks. Please take a moment to fill out a brief evaluation survey that's linked in the chat box now. As I mentioned, we're giving away one of Rachel's spice set gifts that she generously donated.
Yeah, we have, you're going to get 4 of our carefully crafted power spicing blends. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I wanted to show them. I got so excited.
Do you have them there? Oh, we can add you and you can show them if you have them.
Yeah, let me stop share this. Okay, there we go. Forgot about that. So yeah, we have our spice blends right here. And we have 8 different blends. We have Morning Boost, Golden Breakfast, Everything Savory. They're great. They're spices. That's a whole other topic. I'd love to lecture about this another time, about spices and the power of spicing and the synergistic effect of different spices. But really, people ask a lot. That was one of the questions also that I saw. What are some easy ways to enhance the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties of our meals? And one of the easiest things that I find people can be consistent with is spices. And it doesn't mean just my spices. These are already in your pantries right now. And I was inspired by an article by the American Institute for Cancer Research, the spices of cancer protection. And I was fascinated. I'm like, wow, this is so simple and so powerful. And everybody can do this, and they can do it right away because it's in their kitchen right now. So, but anyways, I'd be happy to lecture about that another time, but we'll be giving these away. Yes. And we also have 20% off the masterclass special for Sharsheret. Sorry, I forgot to mention that too.
Thank you, Rachel. That's great. Okay, so if you fill out our evaluation, which is in the chat, you can be entered to win one of Rachel's spice sets. Evaluations really do inform our future programming, so thank you so much for just taking a couple minutes to fill it out. Please never forget that our social workers and genetic counselor are here for you and your loved ones. Sharsheret provides emotional support, mental health counseling, and other programs designed to help navigate you through the cancer experience. All are free, completely private, one-on-one. Our number is 866-474-2774, and you can also email us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org. Finally, I want to share a couple of the exciting webinars we have planned over the next few weeks. Sharsheret joins other important ovarian cancer organizations for navigating a gynecologic cancer diagnosis on Tuesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern to provide those recently diagnosed with ovarian or any gynecologic cancer with important information to get you through. And save the date for our next Sharsheret in the Kitchen, Thursday, February 9th at 5 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern. when Pacific Northwest chef Sonia Sanford will show us some Ukrainian cuisine foods when she demonstrates a few modern twists on some delicious dishes. Please check out our website regularly to see what topics are coming up. The link is in the chat. You can also access the recordings and transcripts of all of our past webinars on our website. From all of us at Share It, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful 2023. Thank you.